10 o'clock. You know what time it is. I know what time it is.
10 o'clock.
It's 10 o'clock. We know it. Hey, here's the first thing I'm going to talk about today. First thing I'm going to talk about today. I'm off mute. Okay, great. I'm on camera. Great. All right, so here are the grades as of right now. So 4 people have below 140 points. That's bad. That's really bad. But people that are in the 140 to 280 range, if you're in the upper end of that range, you're okay. But you definitely want to keep getting some work done. Anybody in the 280 to 420 and beyond, the rest of those 9 students, I am not worried about you at all. I'm not worried about you at all. But folks that are the 11 that are in the 0 to 140 and 140 to 280, please try to get some more work done. All right, that's your first grade update for the semester. There will be more. All righty, so we've already talked about in this class last week, we went over the system unit, the different types of system units that are out there. Today, I'm going to talk about, I don't want to call them the things, but they are. The things that we deal with in order to use our devices, like input devices, and also output devices like the ones you're seeing right now, the screens. Your screens that you're right in front of, and the projection screens. Those are all output devices. So, of course, at the beginning of this, you're going to be asked the question, have you ever wondered how information gets into your computer or comes out of it in a form that you can use? So input devices convert what we understand. I did talk about this. We are analog signals. Computers recognize what kind of signals? Digital signals, right. So input devices convert what you and I understand into what our system units can process. Output devices convert what the system unit has processed into the form that we understand. And this conversion happens very, very fast. Like you and I don't even think about it. I know you don't think about it. Okay, so input is any data or instructions used by a computer. These devices translate data into a form that the system unit can process. So we're trying to tell this object that's in front of us what to do. And in order to do that, we need input devices. Now keep in mind, there are way more input devices than there are output devices. Way more input, because we have to have many different ways as humans to tell these objects what to do. So there are many of them. I'm going to go over all the stuff we see on the screen today. We're going to start with keyboards. There are many different keyboards that are out there. Yes, there's the old BlackBerry thumb keyboard. Those were horrible. But anyhow, a lot of us use virtual keyboards now with our phones and our tablets. Quiz answer for you today. You'll notice the keyboards that are in front of you. What are the first 6 letters on your keyboard? The first 6 letters on the keyboard in front of you. First 6 letters. The keyboard's in front of you. What's 6 letters? First 6. Look down at your keyboard. First 6 letters are what? Letters. From left to right, what are the first 6 letters? Underneath the numbers.
Q-W-E-R.
Q-W-E-R. T-Y. Yes, so that's an answer to one of your quiz questions today. The QWERTY layout. So, of course, my dad, before he passed away, decided to give me his phone and say, I want you to change the keyboard from that layout to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. And I'm like, I'm sure there's an app for that. So yes, we ended up changing the keyboard. But QWERTY is what I always grew up on and used for the last 30, 40 years. So we call that the traditional keyboard. Laptop keyboards are traditionally smaller than traditional keyboards. Traditionally smaller. Smaller on average than traditional keyboards. Some of you might argue that though, because you'll be like, well, I got a 17-inch laptop and I've got all the keys. Okay, all right, well maybe you do. Virtual keyboards, as I said, are found on phones and tablets, and the thumb keyboard is what we used to find on BlackBerry devices. There's also infrared laser keyboards, yes, that you can actually plug in through USB on your computers, and it will display an infrared keyboard onto the surface. I think I just did that one for fun. All right. Now, what's the thing in the upper left-hand corner that the person's holding? Because you all have one on your... Mice, right, exactly. So mice are pointing devices. The thing in the middle, some of you are going to be like, well, that's a screen. But what is that person doing to the screen? They're using their fingers to
Manipulate it?
like touch the screen. So we call that a multi-touch screen because you can zoom in, zoom out. I do a lot of zooming in, I've noticed lately on images. So yeah, I gotta be able to use my two fingers and be able to do that. So that's a multi-touch screen. The thing on the right is a touch pad. It is not a track pad. That's different. This is a touch, well, I guess no, I'm wrong. It could be called a track pad or a touch pad. I hope you know what the thing in the bottom left corner is. Yes, that's a joystick. What's the thing next to the joystick on the bottom? What do we use one of those things for? Don't make me do it in class. You gotta like
Hip hop.
The dancing thing?
There it is, the dance pad. Yes, okay, great. People at home, that's all the dancing I do for you this semester. Okay, so the thing in the middle and the bottom is a game controller. We all know that's a game controller. To the right of the game controller is what we call a motion sensing device. So some of you are like, that's the Xbox 360. Yes. So the motion sensing device. I believe Nintendo Switch has that too, right? For the motion sensing, that's the motion sensing. Below the motion sensing device, it's a little tiny blue thing you see there in the keyboard. We call that a pointing stick. So instead of using the trackpad or the touchpad, you could actually use that to move the mouse around on your laptop. Oh, what's the person holding in their on the upper hand in the bottom right? That's a what? You all have one of these on your phones, right?
Stick.
Keyboard. You all. It's a stick.
Stick.
Well, I think we call it something else.
Pen stick.
The stylus. So we all have. You don't all have your stylus. And your phone says right here. No stylus. No stylus for you on your phone. I've always had to have one. Always. When Samsung did away with that with one of their models, I freaked out. I'm like, I don't have my stylus anymore. Because I actually use that quite a bit, which is really nice. But that's another pointing device. Okay, next up, we can go through some scanning devices. So there are several scanning devices that you see here on the screen. In the upper right corner, that is our original flatbed scanner. The only problem with the flatbed scanner is that we can only scan one page at a time, essentially. Or if you have a couple images, you can do an 8.5 by 11 area at one time. So if you had, let's say, a 20-page document, and it was printed on both sides, and you wanted to scan it, you would have to scan one side of the page, then wait for it, then flip it over, scan it again, scan it again. So the device in the upper left corner of these 5 images that you see on the right, that's what we call a document scanner. So the great thing about document scanners that is way better than flatbed is that you can feed all the pages at one time, and it will scan both sides of the page, and that's what we call duplex scanning. So yes, it does that for you. And then of course, I'll talk about optical character recognition in just a few minutes, but the scanners can also do what we call optical character recognition, where you're essentially turning whatever's on a paper into like a digital text format. But the problem with that is, the problem with OCR is, if you have like lines or anything on the paper that's not text, it's going to take the text that's on the page and jumble it up, and it's going to look really weird. So when you're scanning, you've got to be aware that that could happen if there's more than just text on the page and you're trying to get it to text. Portable scanners, that's the one in the bottom left corner. Portable scanners are great. Yes, you can buy those on Amazon too. So if you ever want to like take text off of pages, like printed pages, you can do that with portable scanners and turns it into digital text. But again, remember what I just said about OCR, because that's what it's doing. It's trying to use that optical character recognition technology when you scan across the page. So you got to be careful with any lines or anything that's like any objects or shapes really will mess the text up. 3D scanners, that's the one in the middle to scan, well, 3D objects. And some of you are like, why would I do that? Well, after you scan it in 3D, you can print it in 3D. So some of you are like, I can replicate objects? Technically you can. And then, of course, we have magnetic card readers like all over the place, grocery stores, gas stations, everywhere. I hope you know what a magnetic card reader does. All right. Most of us just tap it now, though, right? We don't really swipe it anymore. We just tap it, and then it goes. All right. I know it looks like there's a lot here. I'm just going to go through this one at a time. So we also have barcode readers that we find out there, especially like at the grocery stores. So I can either use the wand reader, which I can pull off the self-checkout and go beep, 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 and scan all of my items, which are all with universal product codes in the grocery stores or UPCs. Or I can use the platform scanner. Yes, I'm using the example of me going through self-checkout here because, well, that's what I do most of the time. I don't actually go through and have a person do it for me. So that's what wand and platform scanners do. Platform scanners are also used by companies like UPS, FedEx, and other delivery companies, and they use maxi codes, which are used for routing and tracking packages. And those codes are a lot longer than universal product codes. We see a lot of quick response codes these days, a lot of them. A lot of restaurants have decided not to print menus anymore, and they just go with the little square that you take a picture or you use your camera. You basically get the QR code in the camera site, then it recommends like a link, and then you touch it and it pulls up the menu for you. But a lot of QR codes have come along and it's reduced a lot of printing for a lot of companies. So just keep that in mind too. Radio frequency ID readers. So you notice in the bottom right corner, and there's an example of that with passports. So RFID tags are tiny chips that are embedded in objects, I say in objects, for tracking. Now some of you might go, what about those animals that have like those chips like attached to their ears so they can like cows, for example? Yes, that's RFID, that's radio frequency ID. I've had students come in here and tell me that the military definitely uses RFID so they can track where the people are, track where their soldiers are at. And I think that's pretty cool. Keep in mind, there's also character and mark recognition devices that are out there. I talked about optical character recognition and the dangers of what could go wrong with that. I don't know if anybody in here actually uses checks. Those things that say like pay to the order of, and you gotta actually fill it out. I know a lot of people don't do that, but magnetic ink character recognition. So there's magnetic ink on the bottom of those checks, like marks and also numbers. And you'll see those at the bottom of the checks. So that's MICR. And I think that's one of our quiz question answers for today as well. There's also optical mark recognition, primarily used with when we turn in ballots. And they usually run them through machines for optical mark recognition. In this class, and I'm looking right at the camera for this one. In this class, the first, 15 years I taught this class. No, okay, let's do 13 years. First 13 years, no, 2020. So yeah, it would be 15. So the first 15 years I taught this class, my boss would always say, no, you can't give them electronic tests. You have to do it on the Scantron forms with the pencil. Of course, I had people doing it in crayon, pen, all kinds of stuff. So when I ran it through the optical mark recognition reader, it would say they got everything wrong. And then I'd have to go back and manually check all the answers, which was horrible. So, but here's the other thing too. If there was anybody in that room where the machine was, they would know how bad your students were. If you ran the tests through and they was making a whole bunch of noise, then whoever's in the room would go, wow, that's pretty bad. I'm like, yeah, I said, don't worry, I'll fix it for the next exam. Then the next time I go in there, there's no sound. And they're like, man, they got better. You were right. I'm like, yes, of course they got better. I was doing the tests wrong to begin with. So I changed. That's when I decided to change all my tests. So anyhow, enough of that. Okay, I hope you know what a digital camera does. Yes, we use those to take pictures and it stores it on the memory card that's inside the camera. Some of you are like, well, my phone can do that too. Yes, your phone can do that too, but those images are recorded digitally somewhere. Maybe it's in your cloud storage, but it's recorded somewhere. Keep in mind, we also have webcams, like the one I'm using today, because I'm not using somebody decided to switch me to this one, so I'm back on this one again, so that's not going to follow me around today. So people at home, you've got me in the corner over there. But these are digital cameras that are built in or attached to the monitors. This one's attached to the monitor. These ones are built in to the monitor. But yes, we have webcams. All right, I'm just gonna tell you how much I love this diagram on the right. When you see the copyright date in the upper right corner, you're gonna notice that this was almost 20 years ago. This is something from 2006. Now you'll notice that, of course, the person's not wireless, they're actually connected to the computer, as you see there, the system unit. So the person's got their headset on, they say the word stuff. The PC sound card inside of the computer takes our analog signal, which is that red wavy thing you see up there, and it converts it to digital format, or binary code, as you see there. Then the software acoustical model takes that binary code and puts it into basically phonics, starts putting it into phonics to create the word. And then in the built-in dictionary, it's checked against the built-in dictionary, and bam, the word appears on the screen. You and I now can talk into our phones wirelessly, and this is essentially what our phones do. Now, of course, keep in mind, this was almost 20 years ago that this image came out. I've been using it ever since because it still operates the same way. This technology still operates the same way. So in our phones, for example, we have a microphone, a sound card, we have software in there, and we can give our phone commands, like we can ask it questions. No, I'm not going to say any of the words that are up on the screen for that last bullet point. I'm not saying anything because if I do, your phone might go off, or mine's gone off several times. So keep in mind that all these voice recognition systems exist. There's probably way more than what I have up there. All right, that may be my world record for getting through the input section. 15 minutes, dang, okay. I really did want you all to just be safe and hit the road after this and get out of the police situation or whatever's out. I don't know what's out there because I can't see right now because the wall's blocking me. Okay, so output, on the other hand, is our process data or information. As I said at the beginning, if you missed it, I talked about how there were way more input devices than output.
So this camera is an input?
What's that?
This camera, is it input? This camera right behind you.
Yes, so you are correct. Yes, that is, yes, cameras are input devices, yes. That's what I said earlier, like the webcam. So that's technically a webcam also. It's just not attached to the computer, or it's not built in, it's standalone. But the answer is yes, absolutely. Okay. So going into output, so this is our process data or information. There's only a few types of output that you and I understand, and that's text, images, audio, video. I mean, that's pretty much it. And so I'm going to talk about monitors today. I'm going to talk about printers, audio output devices, and yes, drones as well. Oh, and keep in mind that microphones are also input devices. I didn't really talk much about that, but microphones are also input devices. All right, I was going to talk about this for monitors. So we call these screens or display screens, and the output is referred to as soft copy. So if monitors are soft copy, what are printers?
Hard copy.
There you go, hard copy right off the bat, love it. Okay, yes, people at home, I'm going to draw on the board. No, you don't really need this part. I'm just doing this for everybody's benefit that's here. My whopping 6 people. Okay, so last time I drew like up here, could you all see it over? I'll draw it for you too, why not? All right. So anyway, here, just give me a minute. No, we're not playing Hangman. I'm just drawing something on the board, everybody, don't worry. No, this is not a game. Okay, I'm just drawing that from when I get there. Okay, all right. So, when we're looking at getting a monitor, there are 5 different things that measure the clarity. The first is the resolution in pixels. So, upper right corner, you see all the different amounts of pixels that are up there. I would like you to understand that we multiply, this is width times height, that's the number you see up there. So if you multiply the width times the height, that's your total number of pixels for resolution. Now, as time has gone on, we went from 720 to 1080, then we went to 4K, 5K, 8K. I'm sure it's probably well beyond 8K, I haven't looked. But if you notice the difference between the 4, the 5, and the 8K in the upper right corner, that first number, that 3840, is somewhat close to 4,000. The 5120 is somewhat close to 5,000. And 7680, it's a little off, but they weren't going to call it 7.7K. So you notice that it's close to 8,000. And that's the width. So when you're buying a TV, and you're like, well, which one should I get? That explains it. Like, you're going to get more, you're going to get a better resolution the higher the number is. So, of course, the cost is going to go up as well. Of course, this is coming from a guy that hasn't spent more than $200 on a television in his entire lifetime. Yes, I have 4K. So, stick with 4K. So, anyhow, I wouldn't want you to spend more than $200 on a television in your lifetime either. Anyway, that's tough to do, by the way. I'm just going to tell you, that's not an easy thing to do. To buy TVs and you just restrict yourself to $200. But anyway, not that I'm cheap, it's just I don't do a lot with the TVs. All right, so anyway, dot pitch is the second one. And dot pitch, this is, I just want you to picture this in your minds. There's a space between every single pixel that's on these monitors. If you get your face close enough to the screen, you start seeing the space between the pixels. Now, I can't see it, I can't really see it here, but if I get close enough, I can see the little space between each pixel. So that's what dot pitch is. Contrast ratios. This is another quiz answer for today. Another quiz answer for today. Contrast ratios gives us the ability to display a wider range of color, or wider array of colors based on that contrast ratio. So brighter brights, darker darks, better quality of colors that you see on the screen. Oh, size. How do we measure televisions? Like what way?
Inch.
No, well, yes, they're in inches, but what direction? What direction do you measure a television or a monitor? It's from what to what?
Left to right.
No. Close. Left to right, you're on the right track. There's another way you can there's another physical way you can measure it. We're not measuring it this way.
Long ways.
We're measuring it
Long ways.
diagonally.
Diagonal.
So from corner to corner. Now keep in mind, when you're buying televisions or buying monitors, whatever inches they say, it's not going to be exact when you measure it. It's likely going to be smaller. Likely going to be smaller than what, yes. Sometimes when you buy something, it will tell you what the viewable area is. So if you're buying a 44-inch TV, it might say somewhere, viewable area 43 point whatever inches. So it's never perfect. And maybe it is. And if you measured it and it's even bigger, then great, as long as it fits wherever you're trying to put it. Because yes, I once bought a TV that was bigger than the entertainment center, and I'm like, well, I guess we can't, I should have probably thought about that before we got the thing. We never did throw out that entertainment center, we're still using it. So yes, this technology got better, and the outer frame of the television got smaller. I could actually fit the bigger one in there. Because in the old days, those TVs, those flat panel TVs were big. Yeah. So anyhow, aspect ratios, that's what I drew up on the board. So what I drew up on the board is what we call, this is a very basic, I just want to give you the concept here. I don't want you to overthink this. We call this 4 to 3. So for every 4 pixels that go across horizontally, 3 go vertically. So if you're looking at monitors or televisions and you see an aspect ratio, first number is width, how many ever go across, and then how many go up in relation to how many are across. Okay, so usually aspect ratios with wider screen monitors that first number is gonna be way above the second number. Because think about these monitors you have in front of you. You see how wide these are? Like there's no way that's a 4.3. It's gotta be much higher than that. Especially that first number. All right, but those are the 5 ways to measure clarity. Now, here's a great trick question answer for the extra credit for this chapter. You notice you put it in yellow letters so that, because it's a true or false. So, it's a true or false. So, here we go. With monitors, we now have flat panel monitors. You all have one, you all have them in front of you, believe it or not. Because the one monitor in front of you that's not the computer, that's just a monitor. So, like for example, if this one's the computer, the one with the camera, the other one's just a monitor. So we have flat panel monitors. They're all organic light emitting diode now. That's the answer. That should help you on the trick question for extra credit. Because a lot of people miss that true or false question because they don't listen to this slide right here. So we're now in the era of organic light emitting diode or OLED monitors. I just put the rest of that stuff up there. So there's less toxic materials now. Backlighting gives you better quality, better clarity, but that backlight now has been eliminated by an organic compound, which provides for better power efficiency. So yes, these monitors use up less power than ever before, and greater contrast ratios, which I talked about contrast in the last slide. We see a lot of curved monitors now, which provide for an immersive experience, and believe it or not, your book talks about ebook readers, but you and I both know that we can use our phones now for ebooks. All right, anyway, other types of monitors. The digital projector, we have those here in the classroom. You see that here. Interactive whiteboards. It's interesting because we used to have an interactive whiteboard, but now we don't. But anyhow, we can also use TVs for monitors. I use TVs all the time for monitors at home because, well, they're inexpensive and I can have like a 44-inch monitor and I'm just like, this works for me. My wife goes, I can't believe you bought that TV just so you could use it as a monitor. And I'm like, well, why not? And of course, my daughter complains about how big the TVs are. She's like, can you have a smaller one? And luckily, we kept this 20-inch this 20-inch TV, and I'm like, fine, here's your replacement. And I'm like, don't worry, I'll use your TV somewhere else. So your book talks about enjoying reading on the go, but please keep in mind that our newer phones now allow you to read in the sunlight. Like if the sunlight hits your phone, like my phone, when the sunlight hits it, I still see everything on it with perfect clarity. So I'm just saying that my argument is our newer phones allow us to read books on the go. But for the sake of the quiz, quiz answer, because I have so many people watching today, quiz answer. So ebook readers allow you to download, they call it media. The question talks about downloading media and opening and reading media. So you'll see the question, it's something like that. Some variation of that, but you'll see it. But now our phones allow us to do this. Moving on. So printers, we are actually getting toward the end of today's lecture. So this has to be a record for me at 30 minutes to get to this point. Okay, so printers, I hope you know, as mentioned earlier, they are hard copy because we are printing an actual document. There are 5 main features to printers. First is resolution and what is called dots per inch. Some people will say dots per square inch, but it's dots per inch. Color, some people like to print in color, others don't. Speed, this is pages per minute. So obviously, like laser printers are going to churn out pages much faster than inkjet printers on average. Memory, some people are like, why do I need memory in a printer? Think about this in like a work setting, okay? What if we got a whole bunch of people that are sharing one printer and they all start sending print jobs to that printer? The printer's got to have enough memory in it to handle all of the requests that are coming in. If it doesn't, errors start occurring. Or something will print out that says, Printer does not have enough memory to take this job. So people at work in my past life would come up to me and go, what does this mean? And I would read it out loud to them. The printer does not have enough memory for, well, yes, I know it says that. I'm like, well, that's what it says. What does that mean? I'm like, well, how many pages were you trying to print? Oh, 75. I'm like, I think you just answered your own question. The printer can't handle 75 pages. Why don't you try printing 10 at a time? But Nick, that's horrible. I don't want to do that 7 times or 8 times. I'm like, well, that's what you're going to have to do. I don't make the rules. You guys bought the printer, not me. Then buy a better printer. Actually, they did after that stuff started happening. But then people would still use that printer, and they come to me with those same questions. I'm like, what did I tell you before? Anyway, duplex printing allows you to print on both sides of the document as well. So in this example I have up on the screen, there is a difference between 1200 dots per inch and 300. You're using up actually more ink with the 1200 than you are the 300. So if you want to save ink, you should probably be printing in lower quality. Heck, I used to print stuff in 150 DPI, and it angered my English instructors because they're like, well, how come your letters aren't like fully dark on this? I'm like, because I pay money for ink. I don't get this for free. I'm like, I'm going to be printing 150 DPI all semester. Fine, go ahead and do that. Okay. Anyway, it's not like now where we have access to printers. But anyhow, moving on. There are many different types of printers out there. Inkjet printers, I hope you know. The printer sprays jets of ink onto the paper. Yes, we love our EcoTank printer at home. We've had that EcoTank printer for years. Love it because you can just spray, you can just put the ink, like take the ink from the bottle, spray it into the printer prints. Oh yeah, much less expensive now on average for ink now. Laser printers, I told you earlier before, much faster than inkjet printers because laser printers use what to print? Laser printers use
Two.
Lasers. To print.
To print.
Okay. I hope you know what 3D printers print. They print 3D objects. Thank you. There are several other types of printers. So cloud printers aren't really, I'm just going to tell you this. Cloud printers is more of like a concept than it is an actual printer. So like at home, when I want to print from my phone to the printer, I use the cloud service. It goes through the cloud service, sends the signal to the printer prints it. So that's what a cloud printer is. So you can print from your devices wirelessly that way. Thermal printers, if you've ever gone to a gas station and seen an actual receipt print, and if you leave it in the hot sun in Phoenix in your car, it goes completely black. Yes, scary stuff, right? I did that one time when I was teaching main campus, summertime, middle of the parking lot. I left that receipt in there, and when I came out to my car in the afternoon, it was completely dark. And I'm like, so yes, that's thermal paper. And thermal paper is cheap too. Plotters, that's that thing in the upper left corner that you see on the slide. Prints gigantic murals. Prints architecture, a lot of architectural, like blueprints, for example, get printed on plotters, but they're huge. They stand up, they roll on casters, but yeah, they're huge. But those are all the other types of printers. I hope you know about audio and video devices. So yes, like headsets, for example, so it translates audio information from the computer into sounds that people can understand. A lot of us use Bluetooth now, right? A lot of us use Bluetooth now. Ah, yes, I see you, Felix, don't worry. Okay, but yes, a lot of us use Bluetooth now, so I put my earbud in and I've got the music going in there. And I usually have a separate microphone that I use, especially like when I'm streaming. So the music's up in here so that the people online don't hear it twice, and then I talk through the microphone. Okay, there's also several other combination input and output devices. So a while back, Organizations used to buy one printer, one scanner. I don't want to use this word. Fax machine. Oh, I just got sick a little bit. Fax machine. But they all did their one thing. Each item I just mentioned, they each did one thing separately. Okay, but the quality was usually pretty good with those standalone devices. Time went on, and now multifunctional devices came out that print, they scan. Oh my God, am I gonna say it again? They allow for faxes. We don't do that anymore. But the cost efficiency is better because it's all in one unit, but the quality is traditionally lower than if they were standalone units. Internet and telephony's been around for a while, VoIP, voice over IP, we've had that around for quite a while. Drones are, if you think about drones, they can take audio, they can collect audio, they can collect video, and they can transmit it back. You can get it transmitted back. Yes, so it's a combination input and an output device. We call those unmanned aerial vehicles. So yes, you can have input and output with those. And last but not least, robots. And of course, we use robots for jobs that you and I probably shouldn't be doing. We use the robot to do those things. Some of you are like, do they really use robots in surgery? I heard they do. I don't want to know. If that ever happens to me, I don't want to know. I've told everybody that. I'm like, I swear, if you see that happen, you do not ever tell me, like ever. And if you're watching at home, and if my wife's watching, my apologies. But don't ever tell me that. Okay, all right, moving on. All right, virtual reality's been around for quite some time now as well, which provides us with an immersive experience. I believe that's one of the quiz answers for today as well, or that might be curved monitors for immersive experience, but immersive experience is probably one of the answers for today. Anyway, we have headgear now, we have gloves with sensors, we have all kinds of devices now that we can use for virtual reality. Augmented reality is not really a look to the future. Augmented reality is actually here, especially on television. If you've ever watched a sporting event of any kind on television, nowadays for advertisements, there's a lot of augmented reality because it's not really there. When you go to the game, it's not there, but when you see it on TV, the advertisements are like there. That's augmented reality, especially in football games. I asked my wife, what did we ever do before that yellow line went across the screen? That's augmented reality. That yellow line that you see in football games do not exist in real life, but that's why we call it augmented reality. There are games that people play where it says AR, and that's augmented reality. And so you're moving your camera around, but the little Pokemon thing is on the screen or something. That's augmented reality. So yes, Google actually had Google Glass out there for some time. They developed something called Glass Enterprise, which ended in 2023. That companies can actually use. Yes, it is a pair of glasses where they can actually see like a little tiny computer in the corner of their glasses, which was really cool. That really was augmented reality. All right. I think this is another answer to another quiz question today. So ergonomics is the study of human factors related to things people use. So most organizations should be worried about fitting the task to the user instead of the user to the task. So there are organizations out there that actually do focus on this, where they're like, well, do you need a foot rest? Do you need a wrist rest? Do you need an adjustable table? Now they're offering those stand-up tables. I'm like, man, I stand a lot. I don't want to stand all day. But some people like to do that so that they can sit up and stand up and go back and forth. But as you can see here, all the different types of strains that could be prevented through ergonomics are all there. And yes, those chairs are really expensive, by the way. All right, so laptops, tablets are not set up for ergonomics because yes, when people use tablets, usually they hunch over. And then on smartphones, yes, even today, we still use our thumbs or our fingers. And so they call that the BlackBerry thumb, even though it's not BlackBerry. And our career in IT today is the technical writer. So English 111 is the technical writing class. People listening, people out there, if you're in our Bachelor of Applied Science program, that is your third English class that you have to take to get the degree. So usually these writers prepare instruction manuals, technical reports, and other types of technical documents. I spent time as an analyst, and I'll be talking about my whole analyst career in chapter 12. But my time as an analyst, I actually did have to spend time doing technical writing for documents, for people to actually use, to be able to use our financial system properly. So I was put in charge of creating a whole bunch of these technical documents that, and to explain step by step what to do. And usually this typically requires a college degree, communications, journalism, or English. And especially that second one is the most important, specialization or familiarization with a technical field. Because you can't write about something that I guess you could write about something you don't know about, right? If you did enough research, but you should have a specialization in that field. And as of BLS.gov, that's where I get my money figures from. Technical writers, median annual salary of about $80,000, which is not bad. That means half the jobs are more than $80,000. Hey, people at home, you missed a great class in here today. The crowd was fantastic. Thursday, we are going to be doing the second chapter of Excel and that project. And for those of you who have not turned in your exam from chapters 1 through 4, you can turn that in at any time. But if you haven't yet, please do that at your earliest convenience. Oh, that's right. Oh, hey, you're back. Okay, great. Okay. All right. We'll see you on Thursday. Have a great rest of your day.